I love these old school publications. Look at those graphics, dude. Just amazing. And these letters to the editor. Oh, good times. No life. I've devised a special playing. Oh. System for Final Fantasy VII. Make no contact with other life forms. If there's no isolation area, refer to this method. Move the television and PlayStation into the bathroom. Move the refrigerator into the bathroom as well. Sit on the seat. Lift up your legs or they get numb. Using this method, you can relieve all bodily functions easily except sleep, but who needs that? Oh yeah, I wrote that. What did Bill have to say? Wow, Pat, that's one surefire system, and don't worry. I chose a life of celibacy. In the still Wild West days of PlayStation, N64, and Saturn. You're so cute. We as a snot-nosed gamer culture were still not really accustomed to what real disappointment was like unless you're a Saturn owner. Yes, we can pick up the box, rent it, and lose hours of our weekend to the realization that this game sucks, but that's not the kind of disappointment I'm talking about. Before Game of Thrones was literally before our eyes. Before the game Destiny released in front of a mountain of literal man-children, claiming that the final product was not what was promised by Bungie years ago, once in a speech. Before Mass Effect 3 was absolutely ravaged by EA's conglomeration. We just had some, oh, that kind of sucks kind of moments. But we definitely had our moments of hype. And within the top 10 biggest hypes of that decade, I would say, was undoubtedly Apocalypse. Apocalypse is a twin-stick shooter platformer game developed by Neversoft and published by Activision in 1998. It was released 1 month after the North American release of Metal Gear Solid, a terrible game that no one liked, so they turned to this one instead. This game was going to be a big deal. How big? It was shown on Jeopardy in the category of video games, back when this was in a very obscure category coveted by us sweaty nerds. For once, I was able to shout out, Echo, Echo the Dolphin, in my parents' living room, and then I realized I would have lost anyway because I didn't say what is first, because I was extra dumb back then. I wasn't so dumb to realize overhype when I saw it, because this game wasn't even close to being out yet, and for this to make it on Jeopardy was already making me quizzical. Bruce Willis, far closer to his prime at this point in history, agreed to have his likeness scanned into a computer and recorded his voiceovers in the span of 2 days, in what can only sound like one of those ear testing chambers.
Welcome to paradise.
So no doubt, the publications were hyping this project up big time. While personally, I was excited for the idea of a celebrity entering the fray of the rapidly remunerative money make more faster gaming industry, I could not help but read between the lines of just how bizarre the core game concept actually was. I'm going off of memory here, but the developers intended that you play as a no-name character that is accompanied by an AI-controlled Bruce. You would have zero control over him, and that the game's direction was apt to be an adventure platform type of game. They said in the article that they're still working on making the AI functions of the game even work. Even then, reading the pages of this, I could not help but wonder, how in the ass are you planning on making this work? Even if you are playing modern games 25 plus years later, AI-controlled teammates suck hard, succulent eggs. Imagine how bad they were in 1996 when this thing was first announced. Regardless, I was still excited that we were getting a real big-name celebrity to star in a video game in this era. Looking over the beta pictures and concept drawings looked promising enough, and by the time the hype surmounted to the answer on Jeopardy is where my concerns were honestly percolating, then suddenly the lights just went out. The coverage of this game vanished. For over a year, we heard nothing about it. Some other titles caught our attention in the meantime, like this Final Something or whatever, Metal Something, yada yada yada. And suddenly, out of the ashes of obscurity, was the sudden release of Apocalypse on PlayStation, well into the system's lifespan. So about what I mentioned earlier, the disappointment? Yeah, this is one of the early ones. Apocalypse was butchered from what was originally intended, overly ambitious as it was. Bruce only recorded dialogue in that phone booth for what was in the script. He was again supposed to be a buddy character that assists the player. Story-wise, this would make him ancillary to whatever larger plot points were going on. Naturally, pulling Bruce's lines out to become the main character must have posed an interesting challenge in the development booths when they went to re-stitch the story together. And what a result they had. I'm curious when the decision was made to change Bruce to the main character, how many phone calls went to Bruce's agent? Excuse me, can we cram Bruce Willis back into our Honda Civic to record some more lines? Did his agent hang up? Did they even bother to call? I'm totally fan-fictioning here, but I really detect a lot of tension during this time. Even Wikipedia has it written out that Bruce recorded his lines after this decision, but I personally don't believe that. The lines in the finished product are utter nonsense and clearly stitched together from other contexts. For example, this line has the intonation of instructions to the player and not in the fourth wall kind of way.
Run! I said run!
What came out of a major hype train and was clearly a disaster on paper was a very simple shooter platformer in the vein of One. The game is short, simple, and spoiler alert, pretty fun. As a matter of fact, I had way more fun with this replay of the game than any other recent effort. And here is a spoiler warning. If you don't want the absolute fucking nonsense that is the plot of Apocalypse ruined, too late, you assassinate the president at the end and become the new horseman of the apocalypse.
The preceding statement contains spoilers of the ending of the game and should not have been listened to.
Sorry, I really had to do the Simpsons bit here. There's absolutely nothing of value to the plot of Apocalypse. And I don't think there's much room for subjectivity here.
And my sword. Only one man, my oldest student, now my sworn enemy, knows my plan and knows how I raised my horsemen from the dead. Death, plague, war, beast, my 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Arise! The world must perish at our hands before we perish. Peace, death, tear the flesh from the heathen bones. Plague, devour them with pestilence. War, cast their corpses to the fire. Beast, turn their cities to ash. Go forth, my horsemen! Judgment day is at hand! Thus saith the Reverend.
Wake up, convict! You're on!
Petition 9982B, Kincaid Trey. You have persisted in the dangerous ways of the sciences in direct violation of the 12 recommendations of the Reverend. How would you plead?
I'm gonna stick my foot so far up your
Guilty! I sentence you to death. May the Lord have mercy on your soul. Amen.
Boy, you're gonna have some bad dreams tonight.
Nanotech in action. Welcome to paradise.
Each map of the game is led with some decent looking cutscenes, with our favorite action star sounding like he's in a bathtub, or completely ousted by the music and sound effects with what is some of the worst audio mixing I have ever heard.
In other news, the renegade scientist broke out of the Paradise Island maximum security facility. Trey Kincaid is still at large, heavily armed and extremely dangerous.
Okay, plan B. Run for it!
Trey for his swift capture.
The cutscenes are pretty well done visually. You can tell they were really trying to world build here, but they all end so quickly that you are left puzzled almost every time as to what you just witnessed. The limitations of the CD always tend to jam in way too much dialogue along with the establishing shots, making virtually every scene a bizarre exhibit. It's fun jank and well worth watching for the morbid curiosity of a Frankenstein game come to life. I cannot overstate how terrible this story is told, but I can give it my best shot. Stage 1 starts off strong with some high-octane techno and some cute quips from Bruce Willis that absolutely, positively will never get old within minutes.
Strap one on, it's time to jam. These guys need a little more lead in their diet. These guys need a little bit more lead in their diet. Strap one on, it's time to jam. Strap one on, it's time to jam.
Also on display is an interesting in-game FMV displayed on the monitors. I can guarantee you that this wasn't loaded into the map initially, but streamed via the CD during gameplay. The PlayStation could do a lot of fun tricks back in the day, and this is a cool use of the technology at the time. You were then introduced to the swiveling camera that will accompany Bruce throughout his mission to thwart his former co-worker. A camera that is very eager to switch things up and maintain a unique look. I don't hate it. In fact, I think this is an excellent way to keep such simple gameplay fresh, considering how you've gotten halfway through the map and you have seen about a third of what this game has to offer. I mean it when I say this is a very simple game from a simpler time. If this was released on Steam today, this game would be put on the forums as false advertisement and threatened with class action lawsuits for its lack of content.
Over there, that little tube looks safe.
What is he saying here? I replayed this like 8 times. I just don't. What is he saying? EA?
Sports. It's in the game.
Alright, a sewer level. I wonder if I should put a sewer counter in my reviews. It's never been done before. Well, fear not. This is actually a very fun level that makes you forget that it's a sewer map. No, I'm serious. The reason that this map works so well is that the insane design breaks any ideology of what a sewer system even is. Nothing makes any sense. So it's basically just a very green map with lots of jumping around, with a giant crocodile boss. Level 3 opens up with some more missed opportunities to ass audio mixing.
Alright, getting close to my old place. Hopefully the stash in my lab is still golden. This looks like the right spot. Nice polygon.
In other news, the renegade scientist broke out of the Paradise Island maximum security facility. Trey Kincaid is still at large, heavily armed and extremely dangerous.
Okay,
Citizen
plan B.
Ron
Run for it.
Pray for his swift capture. Amen.
Right here, he says nice polygons, which is awesome. Too bad you can't fucking hear the line. Sorry to emote, but I'm really mad. I love Bruce Willis. Always have, always will, no matter how shitty his movies have become. And somebody, somewhere, once gave the thumbs up to just completely obscuring his lines when he's the star of the game. What is murmured by the characters attempts to outline a plot that not even Wikipedia can make sense of. Shortly after dropping down, a surreal moment occurs. You will encounter one of the many licensed music videos on a short loop when you drop down. It's pure 90s angst here, and it's amazing. I'll link the songs in the description. It's too bad you can't keep playing while you are listening to these. In fact, you can't even move very far at all before the fun is cut off. Oh well. Pew pew pew! Level 3 closes out with a classic juxtaposition elevator interruption. I mean, you know the bit.
Grab those regen tabs and get the hell out of here.
What the fuck is he saying? Regen tabs?
Larry! I thought you were dead!
Oh yeah!
What's fun to watch though is how the devs use the exact same models, animation, and even timing for these two encounters. At least put your Mohawk villain in a different spot on the second floor. Like, they hold this animation for way too long and it's just really bad, especially compared to the rest of the cutscenes. I really hope someone was fired for that blunder. Oh yeah, here's the boss. Let's pretend for a second that you're the writer for this game. You have a futuristic, ethereal being that is themed towards the Grim Reaper, mixed with the Christian mythology of the Four Horsemen. He also gets the jump on Bruce Willis and gets to introduce himself. So ask yourself, what should Death say to intimidate his opponent, to inflict fear on the player?
I am Death. I will punish you.
Another rhetorical question. Why is this line so perfectly clear and understandable versus the nice polygons line? Is it because there is clearly no God? And the boss goes down. I do appreciate how damage is not limited to each phase, and hoarding weapons up to this point will reward the player. Nuke that fucker.
He's tripped the reactor! This place is about to go supernova!
He's tripped the reactor, Bruce Willis says, emoting into the microphone installed in the lavatory of Activision HQ. Okay, I might seem a little nitpicky, but I'm going to play this 3 times in a row. I double dog dare you to explain where John McClane, Bruce Willis, jumps while screaming EA. I watched this 8 times. The answer is that there is none. He dropped 100 floors and he's just that goddamn tough.
The President of the United States.
Fellow Americans, it is my sad duty to officially announce that the Reverend is dead.
The Reverend's not dead. Now it looks like he's got the President in his back pocket, too.
And let us not rest until the criminal responsible for his death is torn limb from limb.
Okay, that's bad. Need to find somewhere to lie low for a while. I know just the place. I'm gonna pay a little visit on my ex. Only my Mary could be warped enough to put a club in the middle of a cemetery.
Did you notice something odd here? As far as I know, this is the most coherent you'll hear Bruce Willis in the entire Apocalypse experience. There's a total of 58 words strung together, albeit complete nonsense, that Bruce says uninterrupted by explosions and overacting. Enjoy. Back to blowing shit up.
These guys need a little more lead in their diet.
Sounds like she's near the end of her set. Just hope she's not still pissed.
Trey Kincaid. I'll be damned. Was it you who crashed the chopper out?
That's not a chopper, baby. It's a hover bike.
Never could keep your stick straight, could you?
I'm sorry we haven't hooked up lately, baby, but I've been playing dead.
I've missed you too much to be angry. My body becomes warm when I think of your flesh shredded
Oh,
and
baby,
devoured
not
by
you
my
too.
viruses. Oh, yeah, I missed you. Give Mommy a kiss before you finish.
Yep, she's still pissed.
Hey, Larry. They're saying kids are fed up with the oversized titties and that women should not be so objectified in their video games. What other features can women have? Well, they say women with long legs is attractive. Have you tried that? That's a good idea. Make your legs 5.5 feet long. That'll sell copies. By the way, I need it done over the weekend. This game ships next Friday. This is the best boss fight in the game, no cap. I feel every boss fight should be done to the tune of a grunge music video. I love the band Garbage, by the way.
This joke is meant to increase engagement with fans of Pulp, the actual band. I have never heard of this band then nor now. No actual disrespect, even if the song sounds horribly derivative.
Anywho.
Never seen this trick before. These freaks are grafted to the latest generation of bang stick.
What's going on out there?
Candygram!
Well, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
Freeze, Rafer!
War sells, baby, and I'm selling to the President of the US of A.
Damn! He's heading for the factory floor. The latest generation of bang stick.
The latest generation of bang stick?
Candygram!
Candygram?
Freeze, Rafer!
Freeze Raper?
You can run, but you can't hide. Ka-boom! I think it's time to get ready for war.
Praise be to the Lord, my rock. Praise my hands for war, my fingers for battle.
You can run, but you can't hide, says Bruce Willis from inside a metal coffin. This boss fight is more the same, except we have a bit of a Crash Bandicoot-style runaway sequence to finish things off here.
I said run!
All shall kneel before war.
I smell another horseman.
War sells, baby, and I'm selling to the President of the US of A.
You up for a tour of the White House?
Suddenly, while burning alive, Bruce's horseman smell is tingling. Well, that's enough plot exposition for me. Why aren't I shooting shit already? Come on, here we go. I have a small gaming addiction of glitch finding and sequence breaking. This is how I became #1 in the world at Horror Tales: The Wine in the speedrunning community. I currently sit at #2 with no one on the internet interested in also speedrunning that game. And although I don't think I skipped more than probably 10 seconds, I got a little giddy when I got on top of the White House here and dropped into that sweet nougaty center. I should point out the largest flaw that is on display here, that the game's overly ambitious at times with its explosions and particles on screen. The FPS will often drop into its tens. Another side note, it's having this kind of gaming background that I find it so hilarious and infuriating that PC users will say a game is, quote, literally unplayable, end quote, when their FPS drops from 120 to 30. Back then, a steady frame rate of 30 was a selling point. Finally, your confrontation with the president begins. Just listen to this monologue. I've been mocking the sound mix for this entire review and managed to understand some of his dialogue, but this exchange right here, I honestly think it's lost to time.
Let me guess. You were taking the tour with the Sunday Scouts and you lost your way. Let me show you my new domestic policy.
I think we found our beast. Easy on the tobacco.
Man, they really hit rock bottom with the animations here. Looking at Bruce looking backwards while tracer effects are drawn over the screen. Maybe they really did have only one weekend to slap this together. Time for a final showdown. Just gotta get Bowser's health bar down.
Drop one on, it's time to jam! Drop one on, it's time to jam!
Like 7 or 8 times. Also, why on earth did they make Beast the final horseman of the apocalypse and not War? Such an easy association to put on the White House, in my opinion. After you take his 8th or 9th health bar down, you finally get to see the final cutscene play out. Let's watch.
Don't you know? He who battles with demons is destined to become one. Shoot me.
I'll see you in hell.
had me there for a minute.
Welcome to paradise.
Bruce finishes off the mastermind, who apparently also went down at the same time as the final horseman. I think they didn't want another boss fight in place of the one that transpired, or somehow destroying him weakens him. I don't know. I guess this is a wrap. Roll credits, baby. Another missed opportunity is to trigger Bruce's one-liners over and over during the credit roll, since at this point not hearing him say shit every 8 seconds has fully triggered a Stockholm Syndrome from within me. This game looked pretty decent. It also released towards the tail end of the PSX's lifespan. This game also came out a month after Metal Gear Solid in North America, which is really bad timing no matter what game genre you were. That title pushed the console truly to its absolute limits and helped keep the console in the #1 spot for the remainder of the 5th generation. After that unbelievably historic masterpiece comes out, you pop this disc in. The frame rate is pretty bad in this game. It slows down to an old school style when things get really rough, making the game playable at the very least. I do have a legitimate spicy take with this kind of approach. I will always prefer graphic overload with frame drops to a butchering of a game's vision for the sake of frames per second. A perfect recent example is people shitting all over Dragon's Dogma 2 for its performance issues. And no, I'm not talking about crashes and all that stuff. That's bad. But on console and PC, people complain that the game does indeed struggle to keep a steady frame rate. What these critics fail to point out is that any game engine would struggle with the completely unhindered NPC crowd with 100% unique facial structures. The devs said, "We want this town to feel alive. Fuck your frames." And for that, I absolutely adore this title and would defend its issues to the grave. Yeah, I was talking about Dragon's Dogma 2, not Apocalypse. Apocalypse is quite mediocre. And they did the same thing of going overboard, but quite a lot. And there's a lot of PlayStation things going on in here that are not masked well, like say in Crash Bandicoot, released 2 years prior. They slapped this shit on the screen and just went for it. And as I mentioned earlier, the camera tries its best to switch things up and attempt to give you some variety in the level's visuals. It's the quintessential look of the PlayStation, full stop. And I might say, there are a lot of indie games that are going for that PlayStation look, and they really struggle to capture the true vision of this console, mainly due to the constant imperfections of the Z-axis. It's really hard to tell a modern computer to not draw something properly. The music, as I've mentioned a few times, is quite good in this game, and very catchy, very 90s. However, the sound design overall is very, very generic. You've heard all of these sounds everywhere.
Get along.
This game is a curious relic of failed expectations. It derailed off of its own hype train to silently re-emerge as a Frankenstein action title with solid enough graphics, fun gameplay, and a nonsensical, ballistically incompetent storyline that was years behind the acceptable times. So many games before this could drive the narrative bus better than this title. Even with the drastic changes to the game's development, there were even missed opportunities there. How about instead of shitty imitation Bible quotes during the loading screen, you fill in some of those galaxy-sized plot holes? Why couldn't you put in at least one escort mission? Just kidding. It really was a fun game and a solid rental. And boy, how fun are those ludicrous cutscenes. Replaying this game was far more enjoyable than I recalled, and with all the disappointment out of the way, you are left with a curiosity from a far bygone era of gaming.